Now you got something to do on the flight to the home.
How many?
We used to read
They don't want to be played with. I can't play with them. I won't do it. I give them what they ask for. My New Orleans steel is more of a milky.
I hope you just clap extra loud.
But we played that.
Then we transitioned.
But that New Orleans thing you're talking about.
Then we made it.
I did get along with it. So we hung in there as long as we could. It was finally time to just kind of.
Slow down. Yeah. 100. That's what we need.
We fight about whether West Coast
And they went
Johnny.
Hi, everybody. Let's try it again. Hi, everybody. It is so good to be back with you in person here in Oklahoma City. If this is your first time to Banjo Fest and our Hall of Fame inductions, welcome to you all on behalf of the American Banjo Museum. We love the banjo, we love banjo people, and I guess that means we love you. Welcome. Before, and I know some of you are still eating, eat at will. Oh, no applause for that. Okay, fine. We would like to get the program going because we've got a lot of wonderful people, a lot of wonderful music to honor tonight. But before we do, we have to do these obligatory thank yous. And we wouldn't be here tonight without a lot of people. Thank yous are very important. Thank you for being here. But I'd like to give some special thanks to our musicians who set the mood for tonight. Ron Hinkle, I know Ron Hinkle's here. Thank you, Ron. I see them in my sights here, Danny Rubio and Lee Floyd. Thank you, guys. And our dinner music tonight was provided by a quartet under the, at least, financial leadership of a guy named Matt Beyer. And I think one of the highest compliments a string quartet could ever get is to be asked to play with the Krueger brothers. And Jens came over and said, would they be available tomorrow to play with us for a couple of songs? So I hope that works out. Ube is down here. Oh, really? I haven't heard about this. Whether that works out or not, it is the honor of a lifetime for a string quartet to play with the Krueger brothers. So if it does work out, great. And if it doesn't, thanks for asking again. We have sponsors tonight. We couldn't be here without sponsors. And thankfully, that list gets longer every time we get together. We have thousands of sponsors. No, we don't. But we would like to thank each and every one of them before we get going. If we weren't here with sponsors, somebody at one of these tables would be paying for all of this. So thank you to Devin and Gail Tower, who are not here tonight. Roger and Ellie Burns, one of our employees and I don't want to say sponsors, but our champions of the museum. Ellie has been there from the beginning. She's been a great administrator. Roger's ill tonight and they can't be here, so welcome. Thank you for Ellie and Roger Burns. Paul and Teresa Poirier, where are you guys? And anytime we need some help, Paul and Teresa are there for us. Thank you, Paul and Teresa, for sponsoring us. PBS Services, that would be Doug and Phyllis Parsons. Thank you for your sponsorship. He's our board president. Lester and Leanne Cowden, they're back here. Thank you for your sponsorship. Harry Dunn Attorneys are Justin Gibbons, who is one of our board members, not here tonight, but they are always there when we need their help. Thank you for them. We have the Oklahoma City Convention and Visitors Bureau. Is anyone here with them tonight? Sandy! Hi! Sandy Price! The day we opened our museum in Bricktown, Sandy Price was there. She not only furnished the ribbon to cut so we could open the doors, she furnished the big scissors. Thank you to the Oklahoma CVB. And GraphTech Communications, they provided these wonderful programs. Downtown OKC in Bricktown. Are you guys here? Anybody? Okay, well, tomorrow when you see the Bricktown Banjo Bash, just thank the Downtown Oklahoma City and Bricktown Association for the fact that the speakers, much of what you're seeing there was provided by them. They've really done a great job because they want to welcome the banjo to downtown Oklahoma City to the public, not inside the museum, out in this beautiful public space. We want to thank Bank First, Oklahoma News 4, Sonic Foundation, the family of Sandy and Lila Singleton. These guys, Sarah and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Sandy and Lila. You know that. This is a very personal thing. It's a family thing. We thank you so much. And there are a couple of people here who don't want acknowledgement who we're going to acknowledge, who have helped make tonight what you're going to see in this weekend possible by some very silent sponsorship. I want to thank Chip Lilly. Where's Chip? I know you're Chip. Thank you, Chip. Chip, come on, wave your hand. And just looking at notes close by, Dr. Ron McLaughlin and Carla Temple, thank you for helping make this happen. And then we have some special musical guests you're going to meet later on, Lincoln Hensley and Ainsley Porchak. They're over here. You can't miss Ainsley in the silver dress. Tyler Jackson, Kent Hillman, and Nathan Eicher, you're going to meet in a few minutes. The students of Scott Whitfield, you're going to meet in a few minutes. They're very nervous. Be really nice to them. They are. And Brad Roth, one of our inductees, Doug Maddox, a Hall of Fame inductee, and Brad's daughter, Noelle, will be with us tonight. They're down here. And then the incomparable Krueger brothers will be joining us later. So these are our musical guests tonight. And now for more housekeeping announcements that are very important. I'd like to introduce you to the guy who is a very trusted friend to me and to the American Banjo Museum, our board president, Mr. Doug Parsons. That's you.
Good evening. Usually Johnny gives my whole speech before I get up here. He's doing better at that, though. I'd like to welcome everybody on behalf of the board of directors and thank everybody for coming this year. Every year we try to do this a little bit better, and every year Johnny and the staff just absolutely go beyond themselves to make this a great event. So let's give the staff and Johnny a good hand with it. We got Lucas Ross. Lucas, are you here? We need more water at table 4. Rachel Reichert, is she here? Rachel? We're back there to give her a hand. And then there's Margie Smith-Roberts. Unfortunately, her mother fell yesterday and broke her femur and a finger, so she's been kind of tied up with that. She's not here, is she? Oh, okay. But she'll be here tomorrow, so definitely say hi and thank you to her. Ellie Burns, of course, she's not here. Cheryl Mitchell. Cheryl, are you here? No. Cheryl's not here?
If it has an asterisk, they're here.
Cheryl Mitchell. It has an asterisk, Johnny. Donna Jennings. Donna, are you here? Okay. That's half my time. I'd also like to thank the board of directors, Lester Cowden. Lester? Jen Krueger. I think he's out trying to arrange a dance for Uwe tomorrow. Jack Murphy. Jack? Ryan Newsom, right here. Michigan. Paul Poirier from Massachusetts. Danny Rubio from New Orleans. Debbie Schreier from up there in Minnesota. And not here, but always with us is Justin Gibbons, Michael Mason, and Devin Tower. Yes, Devin Tower is named after this building. That's actually one of the reasons we got this building, is that the owner of this building, Devin Energy, Larry Nichols, seen that Devin's name was Devin Tower, and was so intrigued that he came to the museum to meet Devin Tower. Little thing there. And I'd also like to thank our volunteers, Jack Murphy, Eric Osprey, Eric, you're here, Eric. Okay. And Bill Bond, Alma Cochran, Karen Leno, Bill Elliott, and Janet Rain. Oh yeah, 42 more pages. I'd like to welcome the past Hall of Fame inductees that are present. Doug Maddox. Doug, are you here? Yeah, there he is. Lee Boy III, 2012. Debbie Schreier, 2014. Greg and Janet Daring and the Daring Company, 2016. If any of you been to the museum, make sure you stop by the Learning Lounge. They graciously helped us with that, and there's quite a few little banjos, and that's one of the most popular attractions at the museum. People coming in and playing the banjos, 5-string players playing 4-string banjos, 4-string players playing 5-string banjos, so it's really been successful. Thank you for that. Myron Hinkle, son Ron is here. Ron Hinkle, you heard him earlier today. Myron was inducted in 2009. And another one I'd like to mention that, just take a special minute to remember Don Stevenson, who passed away last week. Don was a good friend of mine, and he kind of got me into this. He was a nuclear physicist. Of people that knew him, you would never have known that. He was an actual rocket scientist. And Don had a passion for the banjo unlike any other member or player that I've ever met. And Don was responsible for getting me back in the playing after 20 years, whether that was good or not. But he's also responsible for getting me on the board of directors. He came to me one night and said, I need you to go with me with Jack down to Oklahoma City, or Guthrie actually at the time, and see what we got going on there. I think that'd be a good idea if you come down there and do it. So 12 years later, I'm still here. Don taught hundreds of students and spread his love of banjo around the world. Many players in this forum are because of his playing. His mustache and the thousands of hours that he spent doing solos. So a lot of you 5-string players don't know, but Don, this was before computers, Don would sit there and break down solos for plectrum, tenor, guitar tune, and take those little boxes and fill in all those little dots. And in his basement, he has 6,000-7,000 of them, where he spent hours and hours doing it because he had such a passion for it. And he wrote books for the tenor guitar, the plectrum, the tenor banjo, guitar tuned banjos, cassettes. He taught all around the world, and he really enjoyed the banjo. And Don loved his Wood Nancy banjo. It had the atomic flame on it, and it weighed about 947 pounds. Because I actually had to carry it around for like the last 7 years. I got kind of an interesting story about how much he loved this banjo. We were playing a gig out of town one day, and at like 3 in the morning, we were staying at a hotel, and the fire alarm was going off. So we all ran out in the parking lot, and there was Don standing in his underwear, his undershirt and his underpants on, with his banjo case. We go, Don, where's Connie, your wife? Well, she's in the room sleeping. But he saved his banjo. So that's a true story. Don was also a member of the board of directors for many years and helped bring us to where we are today. He was also a past president of all frets and FIGA. And his greatest, in the FIGA world back then in all frets, they have a thing where you sponsor members to get new members. And I think if you really look at that, Don was probably one of the top people finding new members of FIGA or all frets that there was. Because every month you would see in there, Don Stevenson, Don Stevenson, Don Stevenson. He taught that many people how to banjo. He was just an all-around great guy, and I would really, really, really miss him. So I just kind of wanted to mention him. How about Paul? We also had our Award of Excellence honorees, the people that help us with volunteer. Shane and Beth Carter, you guys are here, aren't you? Raise your hand there. Oh, you got the good seats. But them, and there's quite a few other people that have really supported us through the year through volunteers. They always show up. They always, yes, Danny? The restrooms are over there. And Gary Davis. Yeah, I know. I got 47 pages. Johnny's got me all prepared. And then, of course, Ellie Burns, another volunteer. And is the Oklahoma people here? Yes. Are the Art Council of last time I did that, you got mad at me. That is awesome. We'd like to come up and present you with an award also. Would you like to come up? Come on up. Do we have the award? The Arts Council of, yeah, we actually have an official award. It isn't? Could you drop it off on your way home? Is, this is your plaque. Come up here and get it. You made me look bad now. Everybody's been given like a 30-minute speech, so.
Okay. Thank you.
But they've always supported us since we've been here with this event, and we really appreciate their support. I'd like to also welcome the 2021 Hall of Fame inductees that are present. Scott Whitfield. Scott? Greg Rich. Ed Buskirk, Paul Buskirk. Brad Roth. Here. And always the guy making the entrance, Jens Krueger. That was perfect timing, Jens. And I also like to give special recognition to the 2020 Hall of Fame honorees. Danny, this is when we do that part. Well, last year we were kind of everything with COVID and everything. We kind of did a virtual Hall of Fame ceremony where we traveled around. I went to the Grand Ole Opry and did Don Reno, and I did Gary Davis in his hometown there in Knoxville, and did Jeff Stelling over in Virginia, and Paul did Roger Sprung there in Connecticut. So, and we did a big video thing with Eddie up there. So I'd like to introduce them: Roger Sprung, who's not here, but Jeff Stelling, who's not here, Don Reno, who's not here, Gary Biscuit Davis, who is here. Oh, there it is. Hey, Biscuit. Come on up. Now, Gary's prepared a 22-minute speech.
Well, I don't know what to say except thank all of you guys and everybody involved with the museum. It's an honor to have traveled and played and done all the shows and played as many, like back in the day, playing 2 different theaters, 1,200 plus shows in a year's time. And then to see my dad haul me through there to all these places, my mom when they were around. So when we y'all came to Sevierville there at the studio to do my presentation, my dad got to be there, and who would have thought? But that was last October, I think, and then in February he passed away. So it was a true honor that Dad got to see that happen. That meant more than any of you guys or girls that's involved with that would could ever imagine, to be honored by all the great musicians and friends, and him see that, and then everybody involved that makes my music come out the way it does after all these years. So I thank y'all for including me in this exclusive bunch of great people. Thank you.
Gary Davis. I'd also like to invite up Eddie Erickson. Eddie says the beer after this is on him. So, Eddie, yeah, come on up.
Well, thank you so much. I thought last year, which was a Zoom presentation, I was in my suit and in my pajamas. And it was lovely in a way, and it was such an incredible production and so smooth and seamless that I just couldn't imagine anything better than that. And then I'm invited here, and that supersedes everything, and the Zoom and everything. I get to meet all you wonderful folks and see the people in person responsible for my incredible honor. And I'm beyond words because I've just played banjo and, in the trenches, I say, for 52 years or whatever, and love every minute of it, but never did I ever think that I would be here in front of you wonderful people. And I thank you all, Johnny, Lucas, my friend here, my newly friend, we just had dinner together. I can put that in my resume. But I do want to thank everybody. It's just made my life full. I can die now. And I'll be, oh, wait a minute. Oh, right on cue. Perfect. But thank you so much, and thank you, Bill and Shelley, for having them join me, and all you folks responsible for that. So, to all of you, I love you. This is an experience, like I say, I can die a happy man. And thank you so much.
Eddie Erickson. I'll wait till Eddie sits down so he doesn't fall over and die. Okay, before we move on to honoring this year's inductees, let's take a look back at all the previous Hall of Fame honorees who have brought us here to where we are tonight.
No notes whatsoever. We're going to wing tonight because tonight's a love fest for us. It's a love fest for the banjo. And every inductee tonight, for some reason, has touched my life and my music along the way. Our first inductee, Scott Whitfield. Where are you, Scott? The video will tell his story, but you've never met a more sincere person or a more sincere musician than Scott Whitfield. And if you don't believe me, watch his story.
If one were trying to seek out a soulful, caring person who exhibits an unabashed love for the banjo, combined with the Renaissance spirit of a Texas maverick, your search would likely lead you to Scott Whitfield. A groundbreaking banjoist and entertainer who, through music, has enhanced the lives of thousands, Whitfield's banjo journey is a simple byproduct of a child's desire to stand apart from the crowd. Growing up on the fringes of West Texas, by the time Scott showed an interest in music in 1966, it seemed that everyone was playing the guitar. So, just to be different, Whitfield started out on the ukulele and quickly segued to the folk 5-string banjo. Forming his own band in the 6th grade, Scott played at school functions and parties, and in just a few years had earned enough money to buy his first Gibson tenor banjo. With no instructors in his remote area, Whitfield was forced to teach himself, while his passion for the instrument led to his developing into a fine tenor banjoist on his own. The exercise instilled in him the importance of a proper musical education. Determined to help others avoid the long path he had taken to achieve musical excellence, Scott pledged to dedicate a large portion of his multifaceted musical career to the education of others. As part of the formal musical training, which resulted in him earning a Bachelor of Music degree from Midwestern State University in 1977, Whitfield became a drum major, developing performance skills on virtually every instrument in the school band and orchestra. Literally working his way through high school and college, with ongoing banjo gigs at regional pizza parlors, along with jazz, country, rock, and pop band engagements, Scott's education was put to work when he took leading roles in the direction of many of his school's jazz ensembles, choirs, and recitals. Every commitment he made to music and the music business came together when Whitfield moved to Dallas following college. After working as a teacher, retail salesman, education program designer, and commercial music producer for a Dallas music store, Whitfield ultimately took over the business, rebranding his new company Scott Sound Music. During the years that followed, Scott Sound touched the lives of tens of thousands of students who learned the joy of music through Whitfield's fulfillment of his commitment to musical education. Such an admirable accomplishment came, however, at the price of Whitfield's own performance career. Missing his beloved tenor banjo, after a 7-year hiatus, he marked a date on the calendar, giving himself a year to prepare to return to performing. But instead of picking up where he had left off, the inventive musician reimagined the possibilities for the tenor banjo and set out on a predetermined course to present the instrument in a musical fusion of rock, progressive jazz, and funk. While that ambitious goal was being brought to fruition with groups such as the Ballistics, Whitfield never lost sight of his banjo roots, becoming a driving force in the founding of the Dallas Banjo Band, while developing a reputation as a leading purveyor of the classic jazz soundtrack that sparked hundreds of private, civic, and corporate events around the Dallas metro area. As a self-proclaimed Texas maverick, Scott Whitfield's active lifestyle includes storm chasing, motorcycle touring, garden railroading, and community emergency response volunteerism. Yet it is through music and the passion, inspiration, and instruction that he has shared with thousands that has allowed Scott Whitfield to leave his own unique, indelible, and positive mark on the already impressive musical legacy of the Lone Star State. As a musical instructor and Texas maverick, the proof is in the pudding. Some of Scott's very nervous students are standing in the doorway here, and they would like to give you a little musical tribute. Scott Whitfield, welcome Scott's students.
I think you're on now, Terry Ann.
Thank you. So we are 3 of Scott's students, and we represent the thousands of students that Scott has taught. We're going to play and sing one song. You all know that Scott is a wonderful banjo player, but what you may not know is that he and his wife Karen are motorcycle riders. The song that we're going to play was written by Scott. It's an original, and it was inspired by a road motorcycle trip that they took to Big Bend, Texas. And the name of the song is Boogie On Down to Big D.
Big Bend.
I am so sorry, Scott.
She's from Big D.
Boogie On Down to Big Bend.
Where do we send the royalty check?
We'll pick it up on the way out. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna boogie on down to Big Bend, tear up Durango with a bunch of my friends. I'll ride the river road as we carry my load, and we'll boogie on down to Big Bend. I'm gonna mount my ride in the morning. We're gonna scoot out without no warning. I hope the ride never ends as I roll with my friends, and we'll boogie on down to Big Bend. I got a hankering to ride down the open road with my motor maxing out in overload, streaming down the mountain as the sun goes down, and finally pulling into that old ghost town. I'm gonna boogie on down to Big Bend, tear up Durango with a bunch of my friends. I hope the ride never ends as I roll with my friends, and we boogie on down to Big Bend. hope the ride never ends as we roll with my friends and we boogie on down to Big Ben.
Thank you, Scott. For the joy of music, both performing, teaching, and sharing with everyone here tonight through the students that you've inspired, just a few of tens of thousands, we welcome Scott Whitfield to the American Banjo Museum Hall of Fame.
Okay. Well, I'm pleased. I'm honored. Kind of humbled here. Trying to get some notes out here. Sorry. Anyway, I'm very humbled to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I have some people to thank. Of course, all the people at the museum, Johnny and Margie, and the staff there, and the board. You know, these guys have, I know I've done it before myself, but these guys have gone to great expense, trouble, and they're very brave because we're all here together and we're having a great time this year. So I think we need to honor the folks that put this on. So let's give them a hand. I'd also like to thank Terry Ann. Where is she? Oh, yeah, she's in my motorcycle vest, or Kieran's motorcycle vest over there. And her husband, Bob Rogers, for helping with my nomination here and putting my name up for it. I appreciate that. Also, thanks to all my students who have actually attended here and are in attendance tonight. Would those students please stand up? All my banjo students, please. Like to thank all of my fellow musicians that have supported me, and some of the administrators and professionals who've supported my nomination. And also a big thank you to my wife, Karen, standing right back there. Karen has helped me run my company, Scott Sound Music, for quite a few years now. And I appreciate everything that she does to support music and the banjo and me. So thank you, Karen. You know, it's great to have all of these students to be here to support the festivities, and all of you players. All my students are going to enjoy this weekend playing together, meeting all of you wonderful players that are here. Music is a valued part of our society, and the banjo is not only our American instrument, but it can bring music into our lives and enrich our lives and provide a vast vehicle for a learning experience. It's been my personal observation while playing over the past year at Six Flags Over Texas. We were very fortunate. We started January 9th there. And it's been amazing to watch people of all ages, children, teens, adults. They'll pass the stage at Six Flags. They'll give us a thumbs up. They'll clap. People appreciate live music more now than ever before, after being cooped up for a year and a half. And of course, all of us professional musicians appreciate that too, to be able to get out and play again. So what we have is we have an opportunity here. We need to find ways to use the banjo as a vehicle to propel future generations into appreciating and performing not only our tried and true banjo music, but we need to introduce newer, high-quality music to capture the interests of our youth. Our society needs it, and at this point in time, we have a unique opportunity to bring the banjo to the forefront in musical education and entertainment. So let's all see if we can make a promise to ourselves to go out, promote the banjo, and promote the banjo's use in newer music. Again, thank you for this honor and accepting me into the American Banjo Museum Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Beautifully said, Scott, and we're all with you. I'm going to start a rock band tomorrow. Our next inductee, it's kind of rare later in your life when you can run across somebody, this is a personal comment, when you can run across somebody that you know you like immediately. I'd heard the name Greg Rich for years and years, tied to beautiful instruments, great banjos, and the Greg Rich era at Gibson. And then I met Greg Rich at Banjothon, and I immediately said, I like this guy. And as long as he keeps his mouth shut, I think you will like him too. So if you don't know Greg Rich, please watch the video, learn a little bit about my new friend.
As there have been so many advancements in the banjo building art, particularly during the instrument's heyday of mainstream popularity during the 1920s and 30s, it is a rarity when a contemporary banjo builder is able to not only equal but surpass both the construction as well as the decorative standards of the venerated makers of the past. Through a lifetime body of work, Greg Rich is one such individual, capturing and distilling the spirit of the banjo's vibrant past into modern-day works of banjo art. Having never heard a banjo while growing up in Newport Beach, California, Greg Rich was intrigued by the exciting instrument he heard in the film Bonnie and Clyde. A visit to a local Shakey's Pizza Parlor with its live banjo player cemented his love of the banjo's unique sound, and after being befriended by a nearby banjo collector named Randy Snoddy, Greg spent countless hours learning all he could about vintage banjos. Overwhelmed at the sight of a Gibson Florentine from the 1920s, the confident young man declared, "I am going to build one of these." Woodworking classes at the Boys Club were followed by specialized guitar building classes in San Diego, as well as crash courses in metal engraving, wood carving, and custom painting. Teaching himself the fine points of all these skills under the mentorship of Randy Snoddy, the budding luthier took up residence in Snoddy's workshop and began the 1.5-year odyssey that resulted in Greg Rich's first custom-built banjo. Rich's reputation spread quickly in Southern California after he began doing custom repairs, always being mindful never to overdo his work, making the banjos he repaired look as original and aged as possible. Such specialized skills and mindset were put to perfect use when Greg was hired by Mac Yasuda to curate and perform repairs and restorations on banjos which were headed for the fabled collection of Akira Samura. But yet another milestone was on the horizon for Greg Rich. In response to a new banjo boom created by the resurgence of bluegrass music in the mid-1980s, Gibson endeavored to resurrect their ailing banjo line to its former glory. After a spectacularly failed initial effort, Greg Rich was hired by Gibson and given authority to handpick a crew of the company's finest luthiers to staff the new banjo division. Under Rich's leadership and fertile creative mind, the glorious Gibson banjos made during his tenure are regarded with identical admiration and respect as the company's masterworks from the 1920s and 30s. Additionally, many one-of-a-kind art guitars and banjos personally created by Greg Rich made their way to stars such as Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, and Garth Brooks, as well as collections of the world's foremost instrument aficionados. Unwilling to compromise his name, Rich left Gibson in 1993 to form a partnership with California guitar builder Bob Taylor in the production of Rich and Taylor banjos prior to helping Saga Musical Instruments with the revamping of their Gold Star banjo line. Still, envisioning himself as one of the 1920s craftsmen who were making playable works of art, in 2005, Greg joined Recording King, where in addition to taking over their USA custom shop, he designed the company's production model banjos, which are currently being manufactured in China.
We all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine, yellow submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine, yellow submarine.
In the world of the banjo, Gibson instruments produced during his tenure are often reverently referred to as Greg Rich era banjos, while a sincere testament to his impact upon the revitalization of the iconic banjo brand. In reality, the Greg Rich era began long before his years at Gibson and continues to the present day with every instrument which mirrors his loving and flamboyant vision.
And if you think that vision is over, no. Greg keeps making new banjos, and to play his latest creation, what's it called, Lincoln? Krakow. Is it a crack? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to impose on your trademark there, Lincoln. This is actually a Recording King banjo. Yeah. This is a new Recording King banjo. The lacquer still smells fresh. That's how new it is. If you get a chance, take a close look at it. It's banjo art at its finest. Joining Lincoln Hensley, please welcome Ainsley Porchak and the best dress here tonight, I have to say, as they play a tribute to their friend Greg Rich.
We originally thought that Greg was going to be, he's known to dress pretty loud, and we thought we would be competing with that, but he decided to go with the grayish suit tonight, so we're a little overdressed, but he did, I will say, he made this banjo for this occasion, which is really neat. It's a copy of his take on a Vega Vox banjo, which you'll see Tyler's play later, the real deal. And it's an honor to be asked to play here for his induction. So I appreciate that. If you haven't figured it out, we're just here to kill time because his meds take. Here's one called Danny Boy.
Well, fasten your seatbelts because it's time to say, Greg Rich, welcome to the American Banjo Museum Hall of Fame.
Well, I've prepared a few notes. Unfortunately, thanks to Johnny, I can't talk about half of them. 1970, Newport Beach, California. First day of summer. I was loading my surfboard and my banjo into my van to go surfing and then to my banjo lesson. You guys have crazy Italian moms, or any mom. When my mom saw me load that new banjo that I had just bought into the car, well, the words, the hand gestures, I mean, the warning I got about taking that banjo, right? Somebody's going to steal that banjo. In Newport Beach, what are you, crazy? They'd load their banjos into my van just to get rid of them. Honey, break in, throw that thing in there. Mom was right, because when I got back from surfing, my banjo was gone. Yeah, brand new Gibson Mastertone. Couldn't believe it. So I Went on down to the Newport Beach Police Department, filled out a police report, pleaded with the desk sergeant, please find this banjo. I have to go home and face my mom. And if the verbal beating wasn't bad enough, I'm telling you, the physical beating. He understood my position and filed my police report. I mean, well, I'll never forget the sound of it. Banjos, right? I drive over to my banjo teacher's house, told him what happened. First words out of his mouth, your mom's gonna kill you. But he gave me a phone number of a collector in Costa Mesa, California. And he goes, call this guy, he buys banjos, maybe he'll find your banjo for you. I still had to go home though. So I'm driving home, I'm practicing being beat up like, oh, Mom, ow, that hurt, oh, yeah. I get home, my parents aren't home. I called the number, introduced myself to him, told him what happened. He goes, how fast can you come over to my house? I said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Turns out he only lived a couple miles away. I get to the front door, he introduces himself, I walk in, he goes, is that your banjo? He had just bought my stolen banjo. So we jump in his car, we run down to the bank, we stop payment on the check, the thief gets arrested, and I get my banjo back in the same day. And that was the day I met R.C. Snotty, Randy Snotty. From that day on, if I wasn't at school or at Shakey's Pizza, I was at Randy's house playing music and learning about banjos. He inspired me to follow my dream in building. When I wanted to go to guitar building school, he helped me, my tuition to go. When I needed my first shop, when I graduated, he moved his cars out of his garage and let me put my tools in there to start learning. He was there, well, the whole step of the way. Tonight, I know he's looking down from heaven and he's thinking, oh, wow, he can't, you know. I couldn't be prouder of what he did for me and his inspiration. So to Randy, I know you're looking down tonight. Thank you for everything, and thank you for this incredible honor to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
That was beautifully said. I'm so proud of you. I can't tell you. Yeah. Meet him at the bar later and get the real story, but congratulations, Greg Rich. Beautifully said. As I said earlier, every inductee tonight, and I know this, you could all say the same thing, but I'm holding the mic. Every inductee here tonight has touched me somehow, musically, personally, and this next inductee, I'll never forget the moment that I heard the RCA recording Banjo But Beautiful by Paul Buskirk. It is one of those records, if you're a banjo player, that will change your life. And that record did. There was Eddie Peabody, John Calley, Perry Bechtel, and then Paul Buskirk. And Tyler knows the story, and he's a lot younger than me, but that music touched us all. And we are so, so thankful that we get to honor Mr. Paul Buskirk.
Multi-instrumentalist, songwriter and record producer, Paul Buskirk's somewhat accidental foray into the tenor banjo has inspired and influenced several generations of fans and players of the often maligned instrument. In his gifted hands, the banjo becomes a natural fit in any kind of music, from pop to Broadway to classics, all presented in Buskirk's unique and recognizable style. Born in Parkersburg, West Virginia, Paul Buskirk grew up as part of a musical yet poverty-stricken Appalachian mountain family, often walking to school with no shoes. As if to be a fortuitous conduit from the mountains, young Paul was given a mandolin and by literally burning the midnight oil along with tunes on the radio, had become proficient enough to join the Buskirk family band as they hit the road to play music with traveling medicine shows. During the 1930s, Paul added a guitar and fiddle to his arsenal while graduating from his family band to stints with the Light Crust Doughboys and Cowboy Compass before settling in what would eventually become his adopted home state of Texas in 1939. That first stay, however, was short-lived. After his military service during World War II, Paul got a call from Johnny and Jack asking him to join them at the Grand Ole Opry. And with that, both Paul's life and country music were changed forever. Establishing himself as one of the few mandolin players in the 1940s to challenge Bill Monroe's preeminence, actually developing a new way of playing the instrument, Buskirk performed with country legends such as Lefty Frizzell, Tex Ritter, Eddie Arnold, Ray Price, Roy Acuff, and countless others. However, it was Gene Austin's suggestion that he apply his awesome mandolin technique to the tenor banjo that kick-started Paul Buskirk's banjo journey. Returning to Texas in the 1950s as a godfather in the state's vibrant music scene, Paul's unique and extraordinary tenor banjo style gave a new voice to the instrument, which through his recordings and countless personal appearances also created a legion of new fans and devotees. Among these was iconic guitarist and record producer Chet Atkins, who later invited Buskirk and his banjo to Nashville to join the RCA Orchestra and Chorus as a lead instrument in the now legendary Banjo But Beautiful LP recording. Among his Texas-based musical endeavors, Paul opened a music store near Houston, where he befriended an aspiring musician and clean-cut disc jockey named Willie Nelson. After hiring Nelson as a guitar teacher, keeping him just one lesson ahead of his students, Buskirk and Willie developed what would become a lifelong friendship. When the struggling young Nelson needed money, he would often sell the rights to one of his original songs to Paul for next to nothing. Among these songs, Family Bible and Nightlife have both gone on to become country music classics, with Buskirk sharing in both the writing credits as well as the royalties. The bond between Buskirk and Nelson was never stronger than in the early 1980s when Willie asked Paul to produce his Somewhere Over the Rainbow CD. Somewhere over the rainbow. During production, Nelson casually told Buskirk that he would be receiving 1/3 of the profits from the project. Because of that one selfless gesture, Paul was able to build his first permanent home, to which he affixed a plaque reading, "The House That Willie Built." Although professing to be too old for the business, the feisty Buskirk remained active into the late 1990s, recording one parting project with Willie Nelson entitled Nacogdoches in 1997. When Paul Buskirk passed away in 2002, the acoustic music community lost one of its heroes, but nowhere was that loss felt more than in the world of the tenor banjo. During his lifetime, Paul Buskirk's instantly identifiable sound and style changed the way the tenor banjo was heard, played, and perceived. And today, through his recordings and the countless banjo players he inspired, that amazing legacy lives on.
Excuse me while I multitask.
While we're getting set up here, talk a little bit about this banjo. This is Paul's main banjo, and I feel very fortunate to own it. Believe it or not, I found it in a music store in San Antonio and recognized it instantly from all those pictures. It's an old leady. He had lots of banjos in his career, but almost always recorded with this one. So I thought it'd be fun, of course, to play the banjo and to do two of my favorite Paul Buskirk tunes. Of course, he's known for the Banjo But Beautiful album, so I thought we'd start off with a tune from that, which is really shows you the depth of musicality that he had, and then segue into something a little more raucous. So he's also good at that. Y'all good?
Ready? 1, 2.
I have to assume Paul Buskirk would be very, very pleased. And to accept on behalf of a beloved family member, please welcome Mr. Ed Buskirk. Ed?
I didn't know I was supposed to say anything tonight, so it's going to be real quick, but I do want to thank Johnny and Taylor for lending your talent to represent Paul's talent. It's appreciated by the entire Buskirk family, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
We talk about new friends, and it was a sad occasion a couple of years ago when Father Christian Mondor passed away. Some of you would know him from California or the banjo world. He was a true banjo lover, a true banjo spirit. But when he passed away, Ron McLawn asked me to come out to California and play for his memorial. He said Father Mondor would like banjo players there, and as it turned out, our next inductee, Brad Roth, was another banjo player I met for the first time that day. And when you can tell somebody is a kindred spirit the minute you shake their hand and play one note of music with them, you know you have a friend for life. So my new friend, Brad Roth, is being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I think you'll see why when you see his story.
In the world of instrumental music, it is particularly difficult for a musician to develop a unique and instantly recognizable sound and style on any particular instrument while simultaneously being thought of by his peers and fans alike as simply being a good guy. However, through innate musicality coupled with determination and a lifetime of positive spirited performances, plectrum banjo artist Brad Roth has done just that. Immersed in his parents' music as a youngster, after his father taught him to play the ukulele at the age of 9, Brad's musical course was set in motion, segueing to the plectrum banjo after Roth heard, in his words, the miraculous banjo style of Eddie Peabody. His singular focus became learning to play in the manner of the banjo king. A quick study with tutelage by players such as Hank Dougherty, Cuppy Ames, and Frank Bowditch, the young banjo phenom was soon a featured performer at major West Coast banjo festivals. Although determined to be a soloist, through his father's powers of persuasion, Brad was introduced to the banjo's role in Dixieland jazz, ultimately becoming a member of the Jazz Miners. After being the first youth jazz band in history to be featured at the Sacramento Jazz Jubilee in 1975, the Jazz Miners toured the nation, including a White House concert for President Jimmy Carter prior to taking up a 5-year residence at Disneyland in Anaheim, California. While enjoying his role in the band, Brad's solo identity resurfaced at Disney, where he was introduced to a national audience on the new Mickey Mouse Club television program. Growing too old to be considered minors, the band left Disney and broke up in 1984, at which point Brad took a drafting job with a civil engineer and banjo player friend named Steve Simpson. With a gift for business and promotion, Simpson parlayed a coincidental meeting of musicians at a casual gig into a mainstream act known as Banjo Mania, ultimately comprised of Brad Roth, Doug Maddox, Steve Simpson, and Charlie Warren. Banjo Mania toured constantly, performing everywhere from small auditoriums to the Grand Ole Opry and the MDA Jerry Lewis Telethon.
Okay, 1, 2, 2, 2.
Thanks to Brad Roth's sensitive musical direction, Banjo Mania introduced a national audience to the banjo's unlimited musical scope and potential at its highest level. Tiring of the road, Brad left Banjo Mania in 1987, settling into a happy marriage and raising a family while working in the growing computer industry. Although music had become an avocation, his nearly 20-year association with the Night Blooming Jazzmen kept Brad's amazing banjo and guitar skills in front of an appreciative audience of classic jazz fans, while inspiring his daughters, Noelle and Sophia, to become musicians as well, gravitating towards the pop music of the 1930s and 40s. Their family band, Euphoric Swing, joyfully extends the Roth family's love of music one more generation. As demand for banjo in the jazz world had diminished, recent years have seen Brad adapt his musicianship and technique to a new instrument, developing into a masterful jazz guitarist. However, just about when he'd given up hope that the phone would ever ring looking for a banjo player, in 2020, Steve Simpson called inviting Brad to reunite with Banjo Mania in the production of a new recording entitled Painting the Clouds with Sunshine. And with that, Brad's love affair with the banjo was instantly rekindled, much to the delight of banjo fans everywhere. To paraphrase Walter Houston in the classic film Yankee Doodle Dandy, I don't know of any musician who, in the long run, wouldn't rather be thought of as a great guy rather than a great musician. Without question, Brad Roth is thought of as both.
It's not like a tough position we're putting him in. Please welcome Brad Roth, Doug Maddox, Tyler Jackson, and in a very special Oklahoma premiere debut appearance, Noelle Roth.
Two of my good muso buddies here, Tyler Jackson and Doug Maddox. And so we'd love to play a song for you as soon as the mics are ready to go.
That's exactly what this audience needed right now. Just a little wake-me-up call. Thank you, Brad, Tyler, Noel, Doug, and it's such a thrill to welcome Brad Roth to the American Banjo Museum Hall of Fame.
Well, as a young kid growing up loving the sound of the banjo, I sat here and I watched all the faces fly by of all the wonderful players who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I realized a great number of them taught me something or inspired me along the way, helped me have the perseverance to just keep going. Endeavor to persevere, as they say. And so, hats off to everyone before me who paved the musical road that I've enjoyed my whole life. Two of the guys are sitting right here. Bill Dendel, Eddie Erickson. Yeah. And Doug Maddox has been a major inspiration to me over the years. And a great encouragement to me as well. A few other names I want to mention. Dr. Ron McClellan. Over the last year, Ron and I have shared many phone calls, many lengthy phone calls, some late at night, some early in the morning, because I had not recorded a solo banjo CD in a long time, and I didn't know if I could do it. And so I asked Ron if he would kind of be my musical consultant. But having him on that journey with me was a remarkable experience, because not only was he a great musical consultant, but he was a great friend, a great encourager, and without him, I never would have finished the project. I'm certain of it. So my wonderful wife, Linda, who's always been behind me 100% musically, and as a great spouse. My kids, who encourage me to play and who enjoy making music with me. That's the greatest experience I think I've ever had, making music with my kids. And so it's a great honor for me to be here tonight, to see all the smiling faces, to hear all the great stories, and to hear the great American banjo. Thank you so much.
And again, musicians that touch your life. I mentioned Eddie Peabody, John Calley, Perry Bechtel, Paul Buskirk. Then there was Buddy Wachter. And then there was Jens Krueger. When a 4-string banjo player decides that a 5-string banjo player is his favorite musician in the world, that says an awful lot. Jens' music touched me in a way I've never been touched before by music or a banjo player or one and the same. So I am personally so honored to be able to be up here and be part of welcoming Jens Krueger to the American Banjo Museum Hall of Fame. Watch us.
Inspired musician devotes his or her energies to the banjo, the instrument cannot help but be elevated in stature and perception, although firmly rooted in the bluegrass and folk music traditions that seem to permeate the soil of his adopted home state of North Carolina. Jens Krueger's ability to infuse folk music styles into a classical music framework has resulted in a musician with a delightfully fresh and honest sound, as well as a body of written, performed, and recorded work that enhances the very core of American acoustic music traditions. Born in Germany, Jens and his brother Uwe grew up in Switzerland in a home filled with music. While their parents played accordion, guitar, and harmonica, and had a song for every occasion, the boys were intently learning instrumental basics as well as how to sing in harmony. By the age of 7, Jens had become enamored with the banjo, its free and joyful sound making him envision the places he wanted to be. After practicing picking and fingering patterns on a mock instrument prior to actually owning the real thing, once immersed in the banjo, Jens Krueger lost interest in anything else. Sadly, those happy years spent as an idyllic musical family were not to last. After their mother passed away and their father's second marriage began to crumble, Jens and Uwe, while still in their teens, left home in 1979, never to return. Completely detached from home, school, and society, the brothers focused on honing their musical skills as they performed on the streets throughout Eastern and Western Europe. The CBS record contract and hosting duties of a Swiss public radio show that followed were the precursor to a brief separation which saw Uwe concentrating on country music in Switzerland while Jens journeyed to the United States where he, as a guest of Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys, became the very first European ever to perform on the Grand Ole Opry. Reunited in Switzerland, the influences of American bluegrass icons such as Bill Monroe, Doc Watson, and Flatt & Scruggs were evident as Jens and Uwe performed as the Appalachian Barn Orchestra. Later, partnering with a bassist from New York named Joel Landsberg, the circle became complete and the trio the world knows as the Krueger Brothers was born in 1995. Taking Bill Monroe's advice, don't only play bluegrass to heart, Jens began composing original music reflective of his country, culture, and inner soul. While European audiences often dismissed the new material, a 1997 trip to Merlefest in North Carolina became a turning point, which saw American audiences embrace both Jens's compositions as well as the new and genuine sound of the Krueger Brothers. Comparing the warmth and acceptance shown them in America to the feeling they knew as children playing music at home with their parents, in 2002, Jens, Uwe, and Joel moved to Wilkesboro, North Carolina to be closer to the soul, spirit, and creators of the music they love. In this fertile creative environment, the trio practiced constantly, never fighting the rural stereotypes associated with banjo and folk music, preferring instead to add to those existing perceptions through their original music infused with earthiness, simplicity, and honesty. After a lifetime of serious study of composition, harmony, and counterpoint, beginning in 2006, Jens was frequently commissioned to write classical music pieces which the Krueger brothers had performed with various orchestral ensembles around the world. Among them, Music from the Spring, the Appalachian Concerto, The Spirit of the Rockies, and Lucid Dreamer have fulfilled Jens's desire to break down barriers between folk and classical music, presenting the banjo in a new and exciting manner, while simultaneously winning praise from prestigious organizations such as the National Endowment for the Arts and Chamber Music America. Recognized by the U.S. Department of State's Extraordinary Ability Program, Jens is proud to call America home. Although honored for a 40-plus year career exclusively devoted to music, with every accolade and award his profession can bestow, including the 2013 Steve Martin Prize for Excellence in Banjo and Bluegrass and induction into the Blue Ridge Music and Wilkes County Halls of Fame, Krueger considers one of his proudest moments to be June 6, 2006, when the flag over the U.S. Capitol was flown in his name to honor his cultural contributions to America. Through amazing musicianship and original music, which by design is more emotional than virtuosic, Jens Krueger, touching his listeners with equal parts of joy and longing, has literally redefined the banjo's role in bluegrass, folk, and acoustic music.
As the Krueger brothers make their way to the stage, Jens, the second biggest fan you have after me, couldn't be here tonight, but wanted to send a little message. So you'll have to watch the screen for that.
Hi, Jens. Steve Martin here. I am so honored to be able to even say your name, Jens Krueger. You are one of the great banjo players. You have contributed so much to the music, to the emotion, to the technique and skill of the banjo, not only to mention your beautiful songs you've written. You have such a great body of work, so congratulations. And I was honored to play with you on the David Letterman show, to play Jack of the Woods, that I struggled to learn. I had to consult Bela Fleck to teach me how to play it, and even he had trouble. Anyway, congratulations, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention your great band, Uwe and Joel, who you just have the most beautiful sound in the world, so congratulations. Bye.
We're ready in a second. Oh, that microphone can be off, I think. Oops. Yeah. Sorry for taking so long. I hear you.
pure joy in the banjo. Jens Krueger, welcome to the American Banjo Museum Hall of Fame.
And now I was supposed to say something. You can hear my accent. I'm not really local. Growing up in Switzerland, playing banjo, I had no teachers, nothing, and just sitting in the basement, playing banjo. And my mom, she would come down, with a glass of milk and a cookie. And I was sitting there at the record players, and I had a little book that I made, because I thought these were all secret chords. I told you that before. And, I thought there's so many chords, these great banjo players played it. There must be secret chords, and all these chords have a certain emotion. And so I wrote down, this chord sounds like my cat or my dog, or this sounds like the garbage that's still outside, or, this sounds like a cookie, or this. So I made a book, and we remembered it. I wrote, I didn't know the name, didn't know what all these chord names were, so I invented, emotions that I had with them, pictures that I had. And I thought the composers, they take these emotions and these little drawings, and then they make compositions out of that. Later I learned, of course, that's not true. You study music and you do all that, which I did. And then later I learned I was right. It's what we do. We don't understand it. We love it, and it takes us a place we don't understand. That's why we want to go and get closer. Every time we pick up the instrument, we try to enter that world again and try to remember how it felt, and we want to expand the world. We want to walk into this forest and open fields and meet all these people that we know through this banjo music and the dream that we have. I think that drives us as musicians more than anything. It's not, I was always stage fright. I always was nervous, and today I'm particularly nervous, because I had to think of all the things and I couldn't concentrate on the notes. So I always was stage fright, I never was that secure. But my brother helped me. My brother has been with me all my life. I think I have to thank him the most of everybody. I have two daughters, and sometimes I'm around the world. I've been on the road sometimes 200 days a year, and you know how that is. And sometimes my daughter would call me up in the middle of the night somewhere in the hotel and say, I can't sleep. Can you play something for me? But I was just the other day thinking, well, I'm kind of proud in a way that I think I was able to support my family playing the banjo, which everybody told me you'd never be able to do that. People would come up to me and say, yeah, you're kind of talented, but why do you play the banjo? I said, it's none of your business. This is my world. Kids in my school, they would go to school and they play the violin and they play, our folk music, Mozart. And so they come, they play and do their thing. And I didn't like the school because I was daydreaming. I was thinking of becoming a banjo player and joining you guys. And so I was preoccupied, And then having the banjo, because I was the only one that I knew that played banjo, I was good at it. And nobody could take that away from me, do you see? And I had nobody that, a teacher that would destroy me and tell me, you got to learn this or this. I was completely free. So the banjo gave me this freedom everybody was talking about later, right? It gave me this space where I could be a kid and could be myself and just become what I wanted to become. And America also gave me the opportunity to compose, to develop my music and be accepted in being different. In Europe, I had to play, and Rocky Top, and people, would want all this. But I came to America, I could play my own music, and people would ask, "What is that? Right? What is that? We want to hear more of that." And it was a shock for me because I had written all this music, and there was no use for it in Europe. And all of a sudden, here, I could play it for people. And so when you talk about the dream and the American dream and the banjo, well, for me, that's true. And I have to thank a lot of people, especially also Joel Landsberg, who's been traveling the world with me for the last 30 years. I can put any kind of sheet music in front of him, and he never questions me. Never once in all the 30 years he said, I don't like this, or he says always, I'm going to learn it. Same with Uwe. Never question what I do. It's just dangerous. But I also want to thank especially Janet and Greg Deering, because they helped me to come to America. I want to thank the Banjo Museum. I want to thank everybody that is involved in this great organization. And it's a dream for me to be part of this society. Never thought it would ever be, never expected it, and never thought I'd have a place here. I doubt myself the most, I guess, every day. And I just love you all. I love Johnny Byer. I love you all. And I just want to thank you. And yes, I will forever will be grateful for this honor. Thank you.
And just so you know, the tablature for that last piece will be out here at intermission. I can't imagine. Well, we've come pretty much to the end tonight. There's one thing we got left to do. The Jack Canine Award, who was our founder of this museum and whose vision this really was, between him and Johnny Byer, this museum wouldn't be what it is today. And I'd like you to give both of those two a real round of applause. That doesn't mean you get a raise. The Jack Canine Award was established by our founder, Jack Canine, who wanted to recognize or accomplish individual or group who really shows a passion for the banjo and uses that passion to help the museum or the banjo world. This Jack always kind of picked this award, and Jack passed on last year from us. And he always told me, he says, well, when I go, I want you to, as the chairman of the board, to kind of help my legacy on with that. So I'm honored to do that tonight. Last year we couldn't do it because of the COVID thing, but tonight's winner is an individual who has worked many years trying to improve the museum and directing us onto a course of becoming a well-known and respected national museum. With his assistance, both financially and more importantly, with his passion of getting things done. And passion really describes this individual. And seeing through and helping drive us on the right course, we wouldn't be where we are today. I am pleased to announce that the winner of this year's Jack Canine Award, and I'm sure that Jack would approve, is Paul Poirier. Paul?
So I'll just tell you a little story about how I came to the Banjo Museum. We were down in Punta Gorda, Florida, and Doug says, you got a few minutes? You need to come to a meeting with me. And I'm like, for what? And he said, well, it's a Banjo Museum meeting. And I said, okay, does anybody else know I'm coming here? And he said, no, but I'm gonna bring you on the board. And I'm like, I don't belong there. But I guess 11 years later, here I am. So I'm kind of working off the cuff here because I didn't realize this was going to happen. But we heard a lot of people talk about dreams tonight. And yeah, there's a lot of dreams. And people know that I have dreams for the museum. Dreams that where we can go in the future, what we're going to look like, how we're going to expand, how we're going to be better. Johnny's made it as fabulous as it can be, but I keep pushing him to make it better. Sometimes we don't always agree on that, but we all have dreams, and my dream is to see the Banjo Museum not just good, not just excellent, but world famous, and really carrying on with what Johnny's already put together and moving that vision forward and pushing the limits of where we are today. And so I'm really touched. Really touched. Oh, and one last thing. I said this at the table when everybody was putting their awards here. I said, if you don't have your steel toe shoes on, don't drop it on your foot. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, Teresa, too. You've always been helping us wherever we can. And if you get by the window and you see the little thing, that's Teresa's dad there in the window playing Pete Dubois, who is also instrumental in helping us. Is that it, Johnny, except for my speech? Okay, my closing announcements. Announce at end, and it's highlighted. Hall of Fame inductees, past and present, and Jack and Nine winners, please meet on the red carpet for photos, which is where we did the photos coming in. The buses will make 2 trips to the hotel. Everybody pay attention. If not, head that way. And we have a jam session tonight at the American Banjo Museum, kind of like we did last night. Bring your banjos. We would love for you to come. Don't get intimidated by some of these people. Just sit in the audience, bring your banjo, play the 3 chords. Will we have someone down there kind of guiding people, Bill? Okay, thank you. So go east, young man. Like I said, please come to the jam session. I'd like to thank everybody that made the effort to come here, and we really appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. We would all love to see you back here next year for a bigger and better improved. We have the Banjo Bash going on tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, which is if you go outside of the museum and go to the right next to the melting pot, all the way down there, there'll be 4 tents of different banjos are all scheduled there. We also have a jam tent, which means we need people to go in there and jam. Otherwise, we'll look kind of foolish. So bring your banjo there, get together and play. Anything else? Phyllis, did I forget anything? Okay. Johnny?